So our next guest is going to weigh in on the future of business in New York City following Zohran Mamdani's mayoral victory last month. He takes office on January 1st. Joining us right now is Partnership for New York City President and CEO Kathryn Wylde. She is one of 400 appointees to Mamdani's transition team. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So tell us, help us understand what you think is what the transition looks like and what you think the business community needs to understand about it.
Well, the transition is kind of slammed because usually we know who's going to be mayor after the Democratic primary election. And this time we had to go through November 5th. So it's a very short transition period. The first two meetings that I've been involved with have gone very well, been well organized, and basically they're looking to the transition committee for suggestions, ideas on structure of government, how and appointments.
So here's the question. You've spent a lot of time, obviously, with the New York City Partnership all these years, and I think you understand what the business community thinks it wants. This was not the outcome, I think, that they all thought that they were hoping for. But given that this is the outcome, what do you think the prospect is for New York City over the next 4 years in terms of the business in this city?
I think that the business community is willing and anxious, really, to help the new mayor. He got overwhelming support in terms of bringing young people out. Kind of the cutoff for his support is 45 years of age. So under 45 is who elected him. And that's exciting for New York City as the destination of choice for college students and young college graduates. Employers like that. So that's the positive side. The negative side is the campaign rhetoric that talked about raising taxes in the highest tax city in America, one of the highest taxed in the world. I mean, we used to think of Europe, Paris, London having high taxes. We're higher. So that's basically where it's at.
And given your role in all of this, on this transition team, do you push back and say, guys, if you do raise taxes, that's a problem, or are you of the view that actually if you keep taxes, or you raise taxes rather, that's not a problem?
Oh, it's definitely a problem. So no, I'm very clear on that we have to keep New York competitive. We can't afford the premium cost of living. Raising taxes, more government spending only makes the affordability crisis worse.
What flies right in the face of everything? You said you didn't, this time you didn't have much time because after the primary you didn't know who was going to be mayor. Don't you have Kalshi? Didn't you know Mamdani was going to?
Yes, but they were busy campaigning up until. I'm just saying in terms of organizing your transition. Usually it starts in June.
One of the things that I've heard a number of business leaders, by the way, not just big business leaders, small business leaders, super concerned about as of last week, was this comment that the mayor-elect made about homeless encampments and leaving them on the streets as opposed to, quote unquote, sweeping them, which is something that Mayor Adams has done and actually a whole number of mayors have done over the years. There's not only a question about the humanity of it, there's a question about the safety, security of the city. And,
well, Andrew, I figured you were going to ask me about that.
Please.
Because when I heard the statement, too, I thought, oh, no, and I got plenty of calls saying this is going to look like Los Angeles, Kathy. I clarified that with the mayor-elect's team. And, in fact, what he was talking about was the new Department of Community Safety, that rather than sending police out to move somebody from one location to another location or to tell them they have to get out and then they just go someplace else, there's really going to be an effort to try and find some rational permanent placement for people, or interim placement even, for people who feel the need to encamp on the streets. We are not going to have homeless encampments in New York City. It would make no sense whatsoever. Okay,
so that's off the table. That's new news, by the way, because you saw, obviously, Mayor Adams came out and put out a video online about it. I mean, there was a lot of...
The language of the statement was unclear. And so the first thing we worry about is what's going to happen to the streets of New York. And so I took the time to confirm that there is no intention to have homeless encampments overrunning New York City streets, and that's not going to happen.
Can you tell us, to the extent you can or know, what the relationship really is like between this mayor and the governor. Because a lot of time, the biggest discussion point, whether it's around taxes, whether it's around a whole number of priorities that the mayor has talked about, require, in large part, the cooperation and approval, in some ways, of the governor being on board. And what that really is like at this point, and where you think she is on some of these issues, whether it's free buses or other things like that, and just the budget-related issues versus some of the things that he may be thinking about.
Well, Governor Hochul is not shy, and she actually has made very clear that she does not support tax increases. She, on the other hand, does support child care, expansion of child care. And I think that's a common denominator with Mayor Mamdani that she's going to work together with him on. So I think it's all over the map. I mean, free buses, we don't have any way to pay for free buses. On the other hand, expanding support for people who transit support for lower income people is something to look at.
What did you make of Mamdani went online and posted something about how New Yorkers should handle ICE? Did you see this?
No.
If, in fact, ICE arrives on your doorstep, here are all the things you should do. Here's what's legal. Here's what's not legal from what ICE is doing. I wasn't surprised that he did this. I was surprised only in the context that he had this meeting with President Trump 2 weeks ago where they acted or seemed sort of buddy-buddy. And then if you watch this video, you'd think, oh, my goodness, they are obviously, and I think we all know this, on the opposite sides of so many issues, this being a particularly hot-button one.
Well, I mean, ICE is a scary proposition for New York City. We have 43% of our workforce in New York City are foreign-born. We have 500,000 undocumented immigrants who are longtime residents and workers in New York City, taxpayers sending their kids to public schools. So we have a long history, and we depend on foreign immigration. So the kind of threat that's in our community, I live in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. We have a lot of immigrants there. They feel a real threat with ICE, and I think this is caring about our neighbors. We don't want to see one thing. We totally agree with the president on getting the criminals out of here, the gang members, et cetera. But in terms of the threat to our long-term members, that's just a function of our failure to pass sensible immigration policy that provides a path to citizenship for those who are that want to be good citizens of this country.